Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Here we are.
Good day. How's it going?
Good.
Good.
A lot going on. As always. I gotta change that narrative.
Yeah.
I gotta change that story. I enjoy everything I do, but I'm very blessed with all the things that I get to do. How's that? And those blessings are flowing in abundantly. How's that? Without using the word overwhelm.
Yeah. Well, in a creative space too, we know what you already have going on. So the opposite of that would be I have plenty of time and money to take care of myself, and I do. I have plenty of rest. I always feel like I'm recharged. So it's just an opportunity for us to go the different direction, which
Yep.
is what I'm hearing right now. So which is good for me, as we were saying in the last video, whatever we were saying is for us as well. And it's like I'm recognizing what I'm saying to you, and it holds a lot of value for myself to do the same thing. It's to be in that same place because we can get so wrapped up in what's in front of us or what we feel like is happening, and then we all obviously we're learning to want to create the opposite of that. So here we are
Here we are.
doing it.
Yeah.
It just
Yep.
takes practice.
Every day, every moment. Everything's a practice. So like just taking a breath is a practice. Learning to take a breath, right? Learning to notice the tension and tightness in your body as you're moving through your day and just allowing yourself to take a breath and just let it all settle. And then what's the next move? Is it the phone call? Is it the document? Is it you know, the errand?
And as soon as you said take a breath, I took that breath and I slowed down. It's like everything felt different. I've been feeling since before we got on today, and this is our second one, but I've been feeling like the sensation is like a buzzing in this area. I don't know what's going on, but it's been buzzing. I've not had this experience before, so it's been buzzing since I think I was getting ready to start our videos before I was getting ready to start. So it's just finding this interesting, but I would not have noticed it. I've noticed it here and there, but when I took the breath, I really noticed it just a second ago, just sitting here. And then when you say take that breath, as soon as I took the breath and you said notice where you're feeling whatever you said in your body, I felt tension in my solar plexus, like holding. And so these things we wouldn't recognize because it's so easy for us to keep ourselves busy and keep moving forward and not paying attention to these things. But just slowing down, I took one breath,
Mm-hmm.
just one breath. It wasn't more than a breath, it was just one breath. And I noticed all that.
Yeah.
So
And what was
thank you.
that like 10 seconds? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. People think, oh, okay, I don't have time to sit and breathe. Well, you're kind of breathing all day. What's the difference if you just take a deep breath?
Yeah. Because it puts you in the now, right? It brings you right into that awareness because now you're focused. You like stop everything else. Wait, I have to take a breath. I've got to. And then you take that breath and you just take the time to notice everything that's going on in the body. You're in awareness right now. You're right now and exactly where you need it to be. And we only pull ourselves and go back out to the old patterns because until we're aware of them, don't recognize that they're happening. And then when we become aware of them, we recognize how much power that we do have because we can now change where we're putting our attention and put it back on the breath.
Yeah. And I've had conversations with many people who have been students or just casual conversations of telling them, talking about deep breathing and all that. Oh well, I can't just sit and do that. And only because I know this, I will say, well, it, why do you feel like you can't sit and breathe? Well, because I'm supposed to be up doing something and being busy and all the things. And so we have that conversation, right? Well, that's childhood programming. Your parents told you you cannot just sit around. You have to be doing something, be productive in whatever way, because there's always something to do. And so I had this conversation with a person recently. I said, all right, well, when do you feel peace? When do you feel calmness in your body? Well, when I'm in nature. Okay. So if you go outside and sit in nature, how is that different than sitting in your house and breathing? What's the difference? Well, when I sit at home, I know there's things that I need to be doing. And so oh, so that's what you're focused on, right? So you're focused on the things that need to be done, and it's not okay for you to be sitting in your house and doing some deep breathing. Oh, okay. Well, what's the difference between sitting for a few moments and breathing, knowing all this stuff has to be done in your house or whatever needs to be done, right? You have all these things that are so important that need to get done. What's the difference between sitting in your house and breathing in the middle of the day? I just need to sit here and breathe, focus on my breathing for 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. I don't care how long. What is the difference between that and going to bed at night and going to sleep, knowing that all this stuff has to get done? What's the difference? So it's a mind shift or mind shit. It's the mind shit telling us that in the middle of the day, I can't just sit and breathe because there's so much that needs to be done. Whereas at the end of the night, there's still all these things that have to be done, and you get to go to bed and sleep and let your body rest. Why wouldn't you take a moment during the day to let your body rest? Not necessarily go to sleep. They said 10 minutes of meditation is equivalent to like an hour nap. 10 minutes just sitting and breathing is equivalent to an hour nap. And I will say, if I take a nap during the middle of the day, I'm usually worse off after I come out of the nap, um, feeling lethargic and like now I'm not even motivated to do anything. But if I just focus and intentionally focus on breathing for 10 minutes, now I can get up and I have that energy and ready to go. So yeah, just be aware if you think about meditation or just sitting for a few minutes to focus on that deep breathing to bring some relaxation into your body and then get up and do your stuff. How is that different than going to bed at night?
You said a lot of that stuff, and when you were using that as a scenario, because there's a lot. I felt the same way a lot of times. Just to sit inside the house because it's like, what am I sitting here for? There's things that need to be done, and then it's like, well, if I go outside, I could be more quiet. I could be more. And the word that came to me was safe. And I'm thinking, how do you feel more safe outside of your home than in your home? Do you know what I mean? So that was a process. This is for myself, and I don't if anyone else is feeling that way too. But it's recognizing we were safe always in all environments, but there's still patterns from that environment. Like, feeling I knew that if I was inside the house as a child, you better be being busy. If she's doing something, if my mom was doing something, I better be doing something. If we were outside, out of the way, they didn't have to see us, what we were doing. They didn't care that we were screwing around, putting worms in somebody's mailbox or whatever you were doing as a kid, They didn't care about that stuff because it wasn't right in their experience. And that's what we learned. And then so for us, it felt safer for me to be outside. Isn't that so crazy? I mean, I'm just having this recognition during this conversation,
Well, and
which
I
is so
asked her,
awesome.
yeah, and I asked her, I said, okay, well, what if there's snow outside and it's freezing and you can't go out in nature? And that's where you feel comfortable to sit there and breathe. How is it different than just staying inside where it's warm and sitting there and breathing? Look out the window while you breathe so you can see. How is that any different? It's our programming, it's our belief system, it's what our parents told us. And then the funny, and as you were talking, I was like, okay, that's interesting because the home you grew up in where you learn that programming, most of us don't even live in that home anymore. We may have had multiple homes, but yet we still have that same perspective, same programming, same belief system that if it's during the day and I am awake, I should be busy. I should be doing something because it's not okay to just sit.
Yeah, recreating our childhood, recreating it over and over and over again, keeping ourselves in this struggle space that we didn't even know we were keeping ourselves in. I didn't know. If we didn't have this freaking conversation, my mind's like really blown right now. It really is because I'm like, holy shit. Like when I walk around the house today, it's going to feel different. I could already feel like these things, but this has also been my focus lately too, because I want to see the things. What are the things how am I keeping myself from moving forward? There's things that I'm doing. I have patterns that I'm doing currently that make me feel safe because they're familiar to me. They aren't really making me feel safe. That's what makes it nonsensical. So when I start looking at that, then I recognize this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And now how can I bring that safety inside? You just said it. One of the ways is just looking out the window. Find pictures in your house, get some artwork, create your own artwork, put it on the frickin' wall. Take yourself out of that space until you can make it that space be the safe space, just as it is outside.
Yeah.
And so, gosh, now my mind's like, what if us being grounded really never had to do with being outside, but it was when we stepped outside, we stepped out of a lot of the patterns from inside the home that we grew up with. Man, my mind is like just today.
Good. Because if it's
Yeah,
for you, it's for many.
it's true. It's just relieving ourselves. It's just something so subtle. That could be all the way to the back to the whole the lack of abundance, the lack of money, how the prosperity, however you want to refer to it. It's that lack feeling, and that lack feeling is what shuts us off,
Yeah.
pinches us off from all the things that we know that we can have, but we don't realize how we're keeping ourselves from those things. And then this is a recognition for myself in one of the ways how I'm keeping myself from these things. And it was just because it was a learned behavior, it was a learned pattern. It's an old template.
Yeah.
Not wanting to continue my journey as the child.
Well, the child with the programming. You want your inner child,
The
right?
inner child, yeah,
With
the divine inner
mindfulness.
child. And to me, that goes to another story too. I've heard so much about talking about the divine feminine and divine masculine. Well, then a few weeks ago, what it led me to was the divine child. The divine child is without all of the template and all the stuff from the divines, the parents or the divine feminine, divine masculine. It was before that. And so that was a recognition too that I've had in the last few weeks. It's been a constant learning, and it is. We've referred to school or Earth as Earth School so many times. You come here to learn, and it's like it freaking is. And the more that I'm in awareness of this, the more that I recognize how many things are happening for me, as we were even talking about in the last video, how it's not happening to us, it's happening for us, prospectively. And it's like really sitting in that space and seeing it from more of a neutral space so that I don't feel like I'm taking on all of if it's a traumatic experience, you don't want to be taking on that trauma, but seeing it from a neutral space, from a third party perspective. Even to the point where I refer to myself as Beverly. I'll be like driving home, and it's crazy when I get into this space, and maybe that's another way, just like I like to do channel writing and stuff. But I'll sit and I'll be like, okay, Beverly, well, this is what you need to do. And it's like it feels like something else is speaking through me and then talking to me and patting me on the shoulder and telling me I'm doing okay and keep your focus on this and be grounded or whatever needed to come forward in that moment. But as soon as I refer to myself by my first name, it switches the gears. It switches where I'm receiving information and flowing with this. And I'm like, well, that's some good shit right there, because it's not something I would have ever said or even how I would have said it. So, man, such great conversations.
Yeah. And it was so interesting. We were having that conversation about the meditation. She actually asked me to teach her how to meditate, and this was what brought on this whole conversation. And So I use the analogy of, what's the difference between sitting in your house and breathing or going outside? Well, what if it's freezing cold outside? You don't want to go outside. So now you got to sit in your house and look out the window. And it wasn't until the next day, I asked her the question about sleeping. It's like, what's the difference, right? So sometimes information like that comes a little later, uh, and drops in and says, well, here's another perspective. And the way we get those drop in information is being present, being right here, right now. And that's what breathing does. That's when we intentionally focus on our breathing. That's no different than Beverly. Hey, Beverly, this is what you could do. Well, now you have your attention because
Mm-hmm.
something or somebody is speaking to you. Somebody said your name. And when somebody says your name, you automatically perk up like, what?
Mm-hmm.
You're in the present moment because something or somebody got your attention. And you miss those things when you're just ignoring it or too busy or whatever that might be. So there's so much benefit when you bring yourself right here, right now, and bring and have those breathing moments, that are so beneficial for your body, right? But I love that too. I've done that, where I will use my name. Typically, when I do it, it's because I'm being a bitch in some way or being angry in some way, having some on some discord in my body. And I will just go into the look in the mirror and go, what the fuck's your problem, Amy? And talk to myself and be like, you're not liking you right now. Why would anybody else like you right now? Why would anybody want to be around you right now? Like I give myself that what for conversation, talking to, and then I'll smile and change my energy, and just, and now because of my training and stuff, now it's like, well, what are you learning from this experience? And I might be a little gruff with myself in the beginning, but then it's like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm learning, and then I go through my whole process. But I've done that too in a different way, and there are different ways to do things. So just keep in mind, Bev has discovered this way. I have been using this other way, mainly when I'm in some kind of a discomfort of my mindset, my emotional state, whatever that might be. So you find tools, you just keep learning, and you find the tools that resonate with you, that feel good to you to utilize. And I have a toy box full of different techniques. And so it's not always the same technique. Today it might be that sit and deep breathe. Tomorrow it might be going out for a walk. The next day it might be tapping. The next day it might be having to talk to myself in the mirror. It's whatever feels good in the moment that is going to help you move through whatever it is you're moving through, or experience, oh, I need to relax my body. What can I do to do that?
And it even brought me to when you said sometimes you speak to yourself a little gruff. Well, it might sound a little gruff, but that's just where the energy that you're coming from at that moment. If I find that fascinating when we pay attention, when we fine tune all this stuff, because there's so many things, there's so many facets to be aware of. And it's not from, and it's before, I think I've heard you, I think you might have referred to it as micromanaging, how we're coming out into the world. And to me, that was almost off-putting, not because of that, but because of how they've used it in that terminology. And then I realized it really is, but it's not, it's, if you think about it, micromanaging is not, it's not a bad thing or a good thing. If you're coming at it from a neutral perspective, it's just an awareness thing. It's just being aware of all these components, noticing how you do things and why you say things the way you say things, or why you have a reaction when something happens, or why you want all of a sudden want to get up and dance because there's music going on and it's like, ooh, am I stifling myself right now, or am I going to allow myself to have this opportunity? There's so many things that we miss or can miss by keeping ourselves distracted with everything that's going on around us. Yeah, I think you mentioned in the last video too, you had mentioned something about the dogs. We don't have control over things. And it's like I've learned recently, I have one of my boys likes to growl at everybody. There's another dog that does it because he's got his ball and he's like letting you know, I want to play, but you don't know how to read him for sure because he is still growling, and growling is a warning. And then my little dog will, the little one will have some conversation, but this one's growling all the time. And it's like I was squirt bottle every time you would do something, trying to control it right, getting frustrated, feeling like we're not all on the same plate or same page as far as how we're, trying to raise the animals that are around us and stuff like that. And then recognizing I just needed to let go. That's my let go story because as soon as I let go, almost all the growling has stopped. It's still there, but it's like I don't participate in it. I became neutral on it. And so as soon as we become neutral on anything, it eventually is just going to disappear because there's nothing more to learn from it. You're neutral on it. There's absolutely nothing more until something else comes up. It's
And
just
that's
kind of a crazy.
and that's their way of communicating,
Yes,
not our way of communicating with them. It's their way of communicating with each other. This is a boundary, and if you come too close to my boundary, I'm going to growl at you. So
exactly.
back the fuck up, right?
Exactly. But it's true. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
I was taking that part of it personal, or not even, well, probably taking it personal because that's what I just said, but also trying to control it. And it was an uncontrollable situation. It
Yeah.
wasn't for me to control. It was for me to let go, for me to surrender. It was another way of, like we spoke about, how things are showing up around us. They can be for you or not for you. But in those instances, that is all for me, letting me know that I'm still trying to control things. Even though I think I'm totally letting go of control, I'm totally surrendering. But obviously, I'm still trying to control the, oh, that has happened. I'm going to try to control it. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And the best thing that I could do was to let go. And as soon as I let go, everything changed.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so
Crazy.
freeing.
It is. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't have to do that to myself anymore. Wow, that's crazy. There's a thought.
What?
No way.
How's that possible?
It's so easy. So silly. It's so easy. It is silly.
Yeah. Well, we got to learn.
We have to learn.
Yeah.
It's
And,
great.
and, and the good thing and the suck thing at all at the same time is we get to decide how long that lesson's going to last.
Yeah.
Mine lasted a long time. Mine lasted into my, early 50s. So, and now it's getting easier and easier and easier. So,
Same. Same. And that's the whole other thing too. These conversations you had mentioned before too, how we've come together and we don't talk to each other at all during the time frames, but these are our conversations. The conversations we are having, we would be having. We're just recording the conversations now and we're sharing it with other people to give them the opportunity for their own growth and for their own change in perspectives and to even have different ideas than what we're saying and to find things that do work for you or don't work for you. But it's like all the information's out there. It's just all this template and you're creating your own reality from the little things that you like. Or sometimes you're doing it from the things that you don't like.
yeah.
Either way, you're still creating it. So now that we're becoming more now and more aware that we're in the now or not in the now by how we feel, we start creating more intentionally. And that's what we're doing.
Yep. And, and we know, Bev and I know that by us showing up and doing these recordings, this is giving us this time to have the conversations that are actually helping us. So
Yes.
it would be like, all right, well, I'll talk to you on the phone in a couple weeks, or if something's going on. There are times, it's not very often actually, but there are times when her and I will reach out to each other where we need a sounding board, we need somebody else's perspective, and we know we can lean on each other. Um, I strongly believe that because we have these conversations at least every 2 weeks, about every 2 weeks, we do 2 or 3 recordings and we have conversations like this. I strongly feel like that has helped us so much in connecting in this way, knowing that our conversations are helping other people, that I've said it before, it's like our own therapy sessions. All right, babe, see you in a couple of weeks. We'll have our next session and be sure to record it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in years past, is feeling like we're bumping around trying to figure out life, not really knowing how to ask for help and get guidance. And so yeah, it's seriously like a regular therapy session for us. And
Yeah.
whether anybody else gets anything else from these videos, I know it's working for us. So
I was gonna say we do. Honestly, and it's not a selfish thing. It's just a sharing thing. That's really what it boils down to. It's being around like-minded people, honestly. And because as you were talking, there was a store that I had gone to recently, actually the past Sunday, and I went in there that morning, and I had been in this store a couple days before that and had a conversation with a mom and a daughter and was talking about they were saying something about like oh men or something like that. I'm like, oh, but there's so much beauty that's happening in the world right now. We've got this divine masculine and divine feminine. And I said, if you when you find the divine masculine men that are around, they're they're nothing but blessings for you. And I'm like talking to him about all this stuff, and then I walked out the door and I'm like, man, sometimes I feel like I give too much information. Well, then I came back in the store. This is that last Sunday. I come back in the store and she's like, I just had such a great conversation with you. And the interaction was so wonderful in there. She said, I set my intention before I came into work today that this was going to be a great day and this was going to be a flow and all this other things. And I'm only going to have great people that are going to come see me today. And it's like we had that conversation. Then another person came in during the conversation that added to it. And that's when I recognize, and even during this conversation, that's when I recognize it is so very valuable for us to be around like-minded people.
yeah,
It is high vibing. And because that's where I was at. That's where my frequency was at that time too. I ended up not working out, which is why one of the reasons I went to town. But it's like then I realized it was never that was part of the reason I was going to town. It was always to go to that store. And so I go all the time and I recognize how I feel and this how we feel when we're around people that feel good to us. And it's paying attention to that. That's part of following our passions as well. And I'm saying that because I'm learning about following my passions. And even though there's things that we don't like that are happening in our life, it's just pointing us into our passion. That's all that it is. It's not to sit and be like, well, shit, that happened and live with that experience for the rest of your day or the rest of your year or even for an hour. It's just to have that experience and oh no, that this there's something else better for me. And this just helped me recognize there's something better for me. It's just life is phenomenal.
it really is. And that statement is all about perspective. So um, you might be in the trenches of your life right now and feel like that statement isn't true for you. It's okay. It's how you're perceiving life. And when you change your perspective about life and able to go into a what I call a student mode and learn from life instead of a victim mode of giving into the trials and tribulations of this is happening to me, it changes everything. And so you could go back and watch many of our videos where we're having these conversations about this. So, as Bev said, these conversations are important and people are having them, and they're becoming more and more common out in the public. People, you probably work next to somebody who is interested in these conversations or seeking guidance like this. So be sure to if you're not um, confident enough or too shy to have conversations like this with people because you're not quite sure how they'll receive it, then you just say, hey, I watched this video. Maybe you'd be interested in watching it too. And here's the link, or here's the book, or here's a podcast. Like whatever it is, just be resourceful and share what you're learning, and or plant seeds grow. So if you just plant a little seed in a conversation, it intrigues people and then they'll want to know more. So this is what we get to do. We get to help each other. And that's why Bev and I started recording these our conversations, is because we knew it would be beneficial for other people. So you can find us on many platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spreaker, Spotify, Podcast Addict, YouTube, and so are all the other influencers, teachers, guides that you listen to that resonate with you, and share them. When I see a podcast that I'm like, oh my gosh, I know a ton of people, I have a Facebook group, I know a ton of people would get benefit from this, I will put it in my group. And whether they watch it, it's for, again, divine timing, whether they decide to watch it or not, or even get to see the post, because we know how social media is, whether they even see the post and they listen to it, like it's all divine timing. And so be a blessing to others. That was our perspective when we started doing this. We are a blessing to others, whether it's one person or 1,000 people, doesn't matter. Somebody is going to get something from this. Any final words?
I want to go back to the part where take a breath.
Mm-hmm.
Take a breath and just see what you notice inside your body. And only, like you said, maybe 10 seconds. If you did some breaths for a minute, take a breath and just pay attention and get yourself into the now and see if you start noticing. It may have only given you 10 seconds of brief peace, but that's 10 seconds. And then you can celebrate that and then make it bigger and then make it bigger and make it bigger. So just take time to take the breaths.
Yeah.
Take time to have the awareness.
Awesome. All right, friends. Thanks for hanging out with us. Tea time with Amy and Bev. We'll see you next time.
Bye.